Giuliani gives his first interview in his new capacity as an attorney for the president, and he makes quite a splash, and now it's all about damage control. Then, new questions about the death of 2-year-old Gabriel Boyd in Mamaroneck. I spoke with the attorney for the toddler's father about this tragic case. Also, Kanye West with more controversial and frankly rambling rants, but he is still saying nice things about the president, and apparently that's all the White House needed to hear to consider now working with Kanye on a race summit. I kid you not. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to RFL. Some serious, some sublime, and some frankly scary. It has been a busy Thursday, and we begin tonight with yet more legal worries for the President of the United States. NBC's reporting that Michael Cohen's phones were tapped prior to the raid of President Trump's apparently recent conversations. Now, he is the Trump attorney, and his home, as you know, office, as well as also hotel room, were all raided last month. Sources are saying at least one call between Cohen's office and the White House was apparently recorded. Now, this could get extremely interesting and very fast. This news right on the heels of Rudy Giuliani's, frankly, remarkable and if not bizarre interview on Fox News. Sean Hannity gave him the entire hour last night, and Rudy had a lot to say, and I'm thinking if you're the president right now, too much to say. So the question is, was the president surprised by what came out of his new attorney's mouth? Giuliani directly contradicted the president when it came to Stormy Daniels. The president has said up to this point that he has no idea, knows nothing about the $130,000 that was paid to the porn star out of apparently the account of Mr. Cohen. Again, that porn star alleges to have had an affair with Trump. But Rudy, he said this.
$130,000, I mean, which is going to turn out to be perfectly legal. That money was not campaign money. Sorry, I'm giving you a fact now that you don't know. It's not campaign money. No campaign finance violation. So
they funneled it through the law firm.
Funneled through the law firm, and the president repaid it.
Oh, I didn't know he did.
Yeah.
There's no campaign finance law.
Zero.
Yeah, even Hannity didn't see that coming and quickly wanted to move along. Now, Giuliani also decided to hammer James Comey. I'm sure the president did like that. Here is his over-the-top comments.
James Comey seems to be their core of their investigation. He's telling the truth. The president isn't. I know James Comey. I know the president. Sorry, Jim, you're a liar, a disgraceful liar. Every FBI agent in America has his head down because of you. It would have been good for God if God had kept you out of being head of the FBI.
Yeah, you heard him right. And then he had this to say about Ivanka and Jared. Now, so far, the Mueller probe has not touched the president's daughter and son-in-law, as well as basically his immediate family. But there's a lot of speculation that Mr. Mueller could be saving those children and that son-in-law for last. Listen to Rudy's take on the subject.
If they do Ivanka, which I doubt they will, the whole country will turn on him. They're going after his daughter.
What about his son-in-law? They talked about him.
I guess Jared is a fine man. You know that. But men are, disposable. But a fine woman like Ivanka, come on.
I'm sure Jared found that interesting that he's disposable. Rudy also reinforced the right-wing talking points that the Mueller probe is a witch hunt and it is bad for America. Okay, let's bring in our panel right now. Richard Brodsky, former Democratic New York State Assemblyman from Westchester. No, not disposable, irreplaceable. Also, he's a professor at NYU. Joseph Pinion, Republican strategist and GOP candidate for the New York State Assembly. And Andrew Whitman, our senior political correspondent.
Highly disposable.
All right, I do this with trepidation, but you are a barrister and a counselor in good stead. So I ask you the following. I'm hearing from a lot of people that if you follow the tea leaves this week, the fact that the Inquirer did a hit piece on Mr. Cohen should not be deemed inconsequential. As we have seen just in this news cycle here, the Inquirer and Mr. Pecker, who owns the publication, is good friends and has been for decades with Donald Trump. He has paid people money and never ran their stories. He's run stories against political opponents of the president. He's done Trump's bidding over the years. That this piece comes out, I'm now hearing that not only was this not well received by Cohen, but the belief is it came out because they believe that Cohen's already flipped and he's a cooperating witness for Mueller. From what you've seen in the pattern of the investigation, would that kind of hold form?
Well, you need a theory of the case for that to answer your question. And I just so happens I have a theory of the case.
I thought you might.
And it just so happens that it makes sense out of Mueller, and it makes sense out of what Trump did, and it makes sense out of what Giuliani did. What is Mueller looking for that is so important that has driven all of this? Well, I suggest it's a unified theory of the case, where the Stormy Daniels money turns out to be Putin money. And the collusion accusations can be substantiated because the money that Cohen got turned out to be Russian money. If that's what he's looking for, then it makes perfect sense for Rudy Giuliani to show up all of a sudden and go, no, 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 the Stormy Daniels money is Trump money. The Mueller is looking for some bit of evidence that enables him to put all the pieces together in a simple and understandable story. I don't say that it's true, and I don't think he would manufacture evidence, but I do think that's what the Cohen and Giuliani gyrations are all about.
And I want to come back to more about where this may be going, but I mentioned off the top that NBC had reported about the phone tapping story. Apparently, literally just minutes ago, NBC just issued a correction about that story that it posted regarding the tapping of Michael Cohen's phone. It is now reporting, as NBC, that 3 senior U.S. officials told the network the phones were monitored and a log of calls were made, but in fact, there was no wiretap. A distinction with a difference, certainly, but still the fact, Joseph, that the phones were being monitored before the raids. There obviously had to be cause here, why such a, obviously, a level of investigation and introspection was going on for the personal attorney for the president. This thing is moving very quickly, and again, you don't even have to be somebody or a former federal prosecutor like I have here every night to see that the president is very concerned. But on the day that he brings in a pro, frankly, one of the first pros that have been around, the day he comes on, Giuliani, who I'm not referring to, decides to go on as the message guy and submarine the whole argument that Trump didn't know anything about the Stormy Daniels, didn't know anything about the money and everything else. He made a bad situation worse.
I really don't know what to say or what can be said, because the reality is none of this makes any strategic sense. It's very difficult to take anybody at their word, because one day it's one thing, the next day it's another. The president says one thing, you end up having a full speed attack from the press room to try to give a backstory to make whatever he has said credible, only the next day to have the whole thing unravel. So at this point, I mean, we're just really sitting here watching chaos happen. That's the only way that we can describe it, because you bring in Rudy Giuliani, who, whatever people might think of him as a mayor, this is a man who has not operated in the capacity as an attorney in years, right? So now, in possibly the most high-profile, case that you're ever going to see, possibly in our lifetime, you're not bringing in the types of individuals that you need to have around you to be meticulous in going through those details.
But Andrew, it's even worse political malpractice than that. They never even sit in a room for 5 minutes and agree on messaging. It's unbelievable. The day that Ty Cobb is going out there saying that, yes, we're seriously considering sitting down still the president with a one-on-one with Mueller, we don't dismiss it out of hand, somebody else is contradicting him within the same, forget about news cycle, within the same hour. And now you have a guy who's trying to professionalize the operation, the new counsel who has experience with both the Whitewater investigations and other, and he takes the position that this is strictly a legal case. This is not a PR campaign. And what does Giuliani do? He goes out and he does this. And this is a sidebar comment. What Giuliani said about Comey, and that he speaks for basically the Justice Department, the same Justice Department that his president says is inherently corrupt from the top down.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are still 2 tracks here. That there is the legal track that the new attorney was brought on to try to handle, and then there's the PR campaign. And that's clearly going to be, we're going to play to the base only and try to give the base enough of a reason why, they should keep thinking that the president's innocent or hasn't done anything wrong in all of this, which I don't think is going to serve them all that well in the long run, because at some point you're going to run out of that goodwill. I actually felt, for the first time, I felt bad for Sarah Sanders today giving the press briefing, who basically had to say, look, I give you the best information that I have. She basically threw the president under the bus in as nice a way as she possibly could, because there was no way to know. I don't even know what to say. I mean,
Richard, you've seen independent prosecutors up close and how these things play out, certainly as a part of a lawmaker. But Emmett Flood is the attorney that we're talking about, who was brought in with experience. Is the damage, is it almost too late? I mean, I could have argued that if Trump did a sit down with Mueller 2 or 3 months ago, when they could have dictated some of the terms, I know how flawed of a person in terms of his capacity to tell the truth and the risk that he could have done, but they could have defined the breadbox. He can't even have that on the table right now. You don't even know what Mueller has. None of us do.
That's the point. The right and the left have both been opining about this and of truth and overreaching and not overreaching with no knowledge. Mueller is the only guy who knows what's going on. When I spin a grand theory that says this is about unifying Stormy Daniels and Putin, I don't know anything.
All right.
It's just a theory. But
and to amplify your point, that those 49 questions that apparently Mueller said was basically the outline of what he would do with the president, and all the president's tweeting about how disgusting the leak was, it turns out Jay Sekulow who was another of Trump's attorneys, was the one who did the leaking.
There are 2 points. As to Andrew's comment about the base, I caught Neil Cavuto, who's not a stupid guy, on Fox, with an essay criticizing the president for making his own troubles by not telling the truth. There's going to be a time when all of a sudden there's going to be a flip. The other thing is the real chaos in Trump world today is making Jared disposable. Beyond, I thought Giuliani had a plan on the Stormy Daniels money. The Jared comment,
And I think it's a little misread that Ivanka is basically Princess Diana in America. It's a little misread on that one, too.
I know we're out of time, but I think our first constitutional crisis is coming pretty soon, which is...
Somebody's getting fired.
Trump's not going to agree to sit down with Mueller, so Mueller's going to subpoena him. They'll fight the subpoena, and that's
not a constitutional crisis as long as he obeys the ultimate court order one way or another.
Well,
he has a right to go to court.
Okay.
Yes, he does.
Let's see how that goes.
I think where Andrew's going, and I said this yesterday, it'll take a couple months. It'll be fast-tracked up to the high court. If the high court says, yeah, you got to basically respond to the subpoena here, you have to cooperate. If he then refuses, which is where I think you were going, what do? You arrest the president?
You can't.
You can't. And then there is no line that he has. And I was trying to say, I finally got. I don't know anyone like him personally. I've never seen anyone like him publicly. I'm talking about the president. But there is no line he's not willing to cross. There is no lie he's not willing to tell. There is no act too shameful or embarrassing, or there is no conflict he's willing to inflame, as long as it benefits him in his own mind. And that is why this will not end like Nixon did.
No.
There will be, this will go beyond a bloody Sunday, right? This will get to a place we haven't seen before. I have to hit a break here, but when we talk about also some politics and retirements, it's also playing out in New York State politics. We'll talk about that later on here. Coming up next, though, we will switch gears. 2-year-old Gabriella Boyd, she died. The toddler's mother, she's facing serious felony charges as a result. The father, he's filed the lawsuit. His attorney is next to explain a tragic situation that many believe was completely avoidable.